We have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning. So we'll start with the approval of the minutes for December 12th, 2024 monthly meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We'll pause here for any public comments. Would anyone like to come speak? Okay, we'll move on to the finance report. Morning.
Good morning. My name is Paul Boylan. I'm an accountant with the City of Chattanooga, and one of my responsibilities is to gather and provide the progress financial report to this board. Before I begin with the general overview, I'd like to provide some context to the financial statement. So first, this is to show the actual transactions project to date, meaning that this is all the actual recording from the inception of Sports Authority as of January 31st, 2025. One thing you may also notice is that this report does not show the TIF or the final contribution from the team. That will be shown as a footnote going forward. Lastly, this is a changing document. We do know that this is not its final form. We do expect for this to look different going forward, and there's changes already in the making. With that being said, I'd like to give a general overview of the statement. You will notice there are two funds, one of operation and the second as capital. You will see a total column combining those two funds. On the far left, you will see the account structure with their descriptions in order of liquidity, including assets, liabilities, revenues, and expenses. The most notable feature on this document is the bond sale, which directly impacts cash, revenue, and expenses as it relates to the bond sale expenses and the interest paid and expensed. So at this time, are there any questions from the board?
Is this something that we'll go over each board meeting going forward, or?
I believe so, yes. We will provide an update at each board meeting.
Okay. Yeah, Ms. Davis.
I think I was expecting, but I think I've spoken to someone, and going forward, we may be able to have budget numbers.
We will.
Right. So it'll be slightly different.
This is not its final form, no.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll move on to the update of the South Prod Stadium project. Morning, Bill.
Morning, Chair, members of the board. We've got a few slides that we'll be glad to put up on the screen. It may have a couple of additions that were added since your packet was initially sent to you, but we're happy to be able to provide this update to you. Obviously, it's been a couple of months, but we're happy to say at this point construction has been proceeding very well. The site development, the site preparation agreement with the property owners had included 3 different milestones of time that needed to be hit in terms of turnover of those areas because of the sequencing of the work. All 3 of those had been completed as of January 23rd, so they were all completed on time according to the agreement. And you can see in this photo on the right, it kind of looks like a mirrored L there to the left side of the screen. That is the concrete work for the walls and the foundations that have already begun for the third base building. Additionally, both the powerhouse and the pattern shop renovations have started. And throughout all of this, both for the soil work and for those remediation efforts on those existing buildings, that environmental testing was done by Labella, working for Pike Properties, as well as some QA/QC that was done by S&ME on behalf of the Sports Authority, just to confirm that everything's being done in accordance with the records, both with the Brownfield agreement, as well as looking out for the board's interest.
Cool pictures of the snow on January 15th in this one as well.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Still a little bit of snow hanging around. I mentioned the remediation efforts. All of the lead paint remediation in the powerhouse and the pattern shop has been completed, and there is some testing that's continuing for some soils that were excavated in the powerhouse, and some foundations and other materials that were removed as part of those renovations. In total, all of the soil work has been completed, and to date, there's been 96 truckloads of material that were identified as special waste and had to be hauled to a special waste landfill. It was about 2,400 cubic yards. So very, very, very small proportion of what had to be moved and touched on the site actually met those criteria that needed that special handling, which is actually quite good for the project, because hauling to the landfill costs, in addition to the normal tipping fees, there's also extra permitting and handling fees that go with all of that. So we're very fortunate, and that actually has helped us out quite a bit in terms of budget. I know Paul just gave the overall budget report, but this graph is intended to show you all what the progress is looking like in terms of EMJ's work, is what's currently shown on this sheet. In future, after we begin to see the first draws from both the public infrastructure agreement, the site prep agreement, and the team agreement, we will add to that. But you can see that dotted line that's trending across to the right is the projected cash flow estimate from EMJ. You can see the solid line at the bottom is showing about $6.7 million. That number does look a little low. However, there are $3.3 million worth of pending invoices that are actually being routed right now, which actually will put these numbers about on track with where we expected them to be. So right now it looks like things are lagging, but it's actually just because all we're reflecting here are not what's been invoiced, but actually what the Sports Authority has paid out. So that's has been our intention, to show what has been paid on behalf of the board for that contract. So currently, that green line that's at the top at the 125, that's the total budget for everything, which includes the board's bonds, the loan, the $1 million in interest, the team contribution, both in loan and escrow, and the site prep agreement, and the $10 million provided by the city and public infrastructure. So everything on the total project is 125. We're, as this goes and we're able to add those additional elements after those first draws come, that way the board will be able to see how things are tracking and trending towards that maximum of $125 million for all the work. We did want to give some information about the disadvantaged business enterprise participation for the project, for EMJ's scope of the work. So there was a 30% goal that was included in their contract, which is higher than is typically seen in the construction industry. This EMJ is reporting based on the state's definition under the state's program, which does include small businesses. So that's a slight difference from what the city of Chattanooga uses. The city of Chattanooga does not include small businesses in that. So that is making a difference there. It's about $5.5 million of small business that's in here, but you can see based on that 30%, with a contract total of $76 million that's been awarded to, or that's been granted to EMJ, the goal would be 22.9 million, so that would be 30%. Currently, EMJ has awarded $9.379 million to DBEs, including small businesses. And that work that's in progress is about, or that they are working to try to obtain is another $8.1 million. So in total, it's about 22% is where they are right now. So still have some opportunities that they have to be able to make some awards as well in hopes to be able to increase that percentage. But we wanted to make sure and report that back. We may change this graphic around a little bit in the future, just so I know looking at it, whenever you see those percentages, as you're trying to think about what those DBE percentages are, we may make some changes to that if you all have any questions or need anything on that. But generally speaking, this is intended to show what the contract is and the amount that's been awarded and what's currently being negotiated. Part of that in progress number, just to give you some understanding of that, is there actually are some businesses that are being awarded work by EMJ. They qualify to be a disadvantaged business enterprise, but they've never gone through the steps and the paperwork to actually do so. So that's the reason why they're under the in progress step as opposed to the awarded step. So just to give you some understanding. So through this, we're actually increasing the number of businesses that actually do meet those qualifications, which will be better as well for the city as well. So.
The DBEs, are they broken down any further in terms of the makeup of the DBEs?
We do have information about those, which we can work to show that as well, if that's something the board would like to see.
Okay, and if I may, can you go back a slide where you show the 125? I think that's wonderful. I like this slide. You have 125 million total project. So that's the total budget for the project, correct? And hopefully, going forward, this report will reflect that total budget, because I'm assuming all of those dollars are really going toward this asset that is managed by this board.
I think the only difference will be that in terms of the Sports Authority's asset in the end will be $115 million, because that $10 million of public infrastructure, those are dollars that the city is providing in order to construct West 26th Street and some stormwater and wastewater infrastructure, which will be dedicated to the city, and so those will become public city assets. So that would be what I would anticipate is the main difference between the two, is that for us, from a construction and project delivery perspective, we're working with $125 million total. A lot of that has to do with some of these agreements really are very intertwined. For example, site prep and public infrastructure are intertwined with some pieces. And so there are some elements that may either shift from one agreement to another because they have some hard caps on them, right? So it's a hard cap of $10 million on public infrastructure. And so those types of things, we're managing that from a total dollar perspective. So but we do know that some of those subcategories have got some caps on them within that amount.
Okay. But as far as this board is concerned, probably $115 million is what will flow through this board. Although we want to make sure the
actually, the 125 will flow through the board because the public infrastructure agreement was part of the package, and so that was an agreement. So the city appropriated the first $5 million to the Sports Authority in the current FY25 budget, and the remaining $5 million is expected in the FY26 budget. The public infrastructure agreement is between the Sports Authority and Pike Properties in order to go out and design, permit, and construct and turn over that infrastructure to the city as part of that process. So it was being done that way because of that multi-year funding that needed to come from the city. But the developer, the property owner, is able to move in a way in the private sector which is more fluid and actually allows to be able to span that, which is not something that would be possible if the city were constructing those And so it's actually better for the overall project that it's coming this way. So ultimately, that $10 million has been appropriated to the Sports Authority, and those will be payments that are made to Pike Properties. As they complete portions of the work, they will be submitting that information back for payment and reimbursement.
Thanks.
This is actually the similar time lapse to what we had before. Whenever you can go ahead and if he can hit play in the background, about the first 20 seconds of this is one of those where you don't really see a whole lot. I think we talked about that a little bit at the end. It's about 30 seconds in total. About the last 10 seconds of it, you're really going to wind up seeing quite a bit of things that happen. So I know the shadows can definitely mess with you just a little bit as you're trying to look at it, so apologies for that. But you can definitely now see where portions of the powerhouse have been removed. You can see that excavation in that basement area that we were talking about, and some work filling back in. And this next slide, let's see if you can advance. If you're able to advance to the next slide, I think it'll actually. Yeah, so this is essentially as of a couple of weeks ago, so or last week, I guess, on the 4th. So you can begin to see over on the interstate portion of that, where those foundation walls for the third base building are being constructed. See some concrete trucks down in the bottom, and as well as quite a bit of material handling that's already going. So a lot of the deep foundation work has already been completed, and beginning to see some good foundation work that's coming along. So that's the end of the information that I had to share there. I will just comment to the board to let you all know as an update on the traffic impact study. We have received back TDOT's comments from that, so we're in the process of reviewing those both internally at the city as well as with Pike Properties and with the developer. So don't really have anything additional to be able to provide back, other than to let you all know that's what we were waiting on before. We have received those back, and we're working our way through all of that. So be glad to answer any questions that the board may have.
When you get a minute.
Thank you, Bill.
Certainly, our pleasure.
Bill, we are working well with TDEC regarding any removal of items here. I just wanted to make sure, because there is a successor letter here by the board, at least dealing with TDEC conservation concerns.
Yes. So Troy Keith with the TDEC Division of Remediation has been the contact, and he's been working closely both with Pike Properties as well as with our team in terms of getting the work that needs to be done completed and in a way that's satisfactory under the Brownfield agreement.
Yes, sir.
So yes, sir, all of that coordination is ongoing, and TDEC has been satisfied with the work that's happening to this point.
Yes, and the chair has signed the letter, and we've sent that on back to TDEC, at least saying that we'll comply. So I just wanted to make sure that's on the record.
Very good.
All right.
From a timeline perspective, any major hiccups or everything moving pretty well?
With a project like this, you always wind up wishing a few things were a little smoother, but you always bump into some. I think right now everything is moving along on track. We expect the first steel will be erected later this month, which is good, and is definitely keeping things moving. There's always wound up being, we had a few times whenever there were as we were trying to do some utility coordination work, E&J and their subcontractor that was Keller, that was handling some of the foundation work. We kept them working on the site, even though it might not have been in the sequence they would have wanted, because we were trying to work our way through some utility pieces. So there's those kinds of headaches that happen on a project like this, but I think everything is moving along. So still working our way through some things on permitting aspects, but those again are things that we believe we can get dealt and handled without any impacts.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Bill.
Our pleasure.
Do we have any other business to discuss today? If not, then we'll adjourn.